Hello, North Stars, and welcome to the PSAT 8-9 Fall 2022 training. Before we jump into the manual, I do want to spend a little bit of time on the digital testing website. You should have received an email from Tide that gives you the option to sign in and create an account because you are going to be administering a digital exam. It's important that you do this, that you get set up in the digital testing, and that you're able to log into the TA interface. That's this link right here. So when you go in, you're going to get a situation like this. You'll create a secure login, and then that will bring you into the testing environment. This is what it looks like when you get there. But going back to this page, there is a lot of good information on here that you should spend some time with. Practice giving a test using the TA interface, help make you more comfortable. Access administration training. I'm not requiring you to do this, but this is the training that College Board offers that gives you that. What I highly suggest is previewing the student digital test experience. That will give you the idea of what it's going to look like for them as you're navigating through this. Most of you that are watching this did this administration last year. I felt that since you were comfortable with it and did such a wonderful job last year, I'd let you do that again this year. At this point, then, let's go ahead and jump into the manual. If you don't already have it in front of you, please go and get your manual. They were put in mailboxes on Wednesday. Along with the manual, you should have a digital testing room quick start guide. This document, it's a folded, it's not a trifold, quadrifold. That's going to be a very, very useful document for you. It really walks you through this step by step to get you through it. Gives you some nice graphics to show you what you should be seeing on the screen. So make sure you have that handy as you're administering the test. The manual itself, then, the first part of it is really more for the coordinator, so for me. But if you want to have it in front of you, you'll notice that it's not highlighted like it's been done in the past. We're using the actual manuals from College Board. I've highlighted this digital one, though, so you can follow along and mark yours up. You're going to start on page 38, and this is where everyone's going to start. We're going to start with kind of some general classroom portions, and then you'll be able to skip to your specific scripts. So for all proctors and hall monitors, this is the important information you need to know. So before test day, you need to make sure that you're ready to go. You know where to report. You've participated in the training that you're doing right now. Confirm that you can log into the TA interface. Take the time to make sure you go through the scripts and you prepare, and make sure you've reviewed those specific scripts. If you're doing accommodated testing, it's also important that you know what those accommodations are and how to administer them. After you do this training, if you still have any questions at all, definitely talk to Sarah Wolf or myself, and we will work with you to make sure that you're comfortable and you have understand what those accommodations are. All right, continuing on, then we get into delivering the digital PSAT 8-9. So you're going to be monitoring the TA interface. That is going to be your role. The students are going to be using their Chromebooks. And in order to get into the testing environment, they have to go into the secure test browser. One of the problems that we had with some of them last year is they didn't realize they had to be logged off. If they're logged in, they can't access it. So they got to be in kiosk mode, logged off, go down to the apps, and they're going to click on the one that says secure test browser right here. You see that? They're going to have a session ID that you will provide for them. You have to approve them, if you remember from last year, a couple of different times in order to get into the test. So like you see here, you'll admit them in, and then you will start the test. And you will do that each time for each of the exams. All right. We are going to do a pre-administration script. So we have to have some questions that they're going to answer. So you're going to start off by getting them launched, get into the system. You're going to read the scripts right here, what is highlighted, and we're going to go through that. We're not doing all the questions. I'll show you on the next page. We're skipping a few. You'll see here. This is getting them in, and then they're going to get a little bit familiar with it. they're going to put down their mailing address here. And then after they get their address down, they're going to stop. They're not doing the questionnaire beyond that. This asks some survey questions and mobile phone number and email address, none of which we have parental approval for them to grant or to give. So we are definitely going to skip those portions. So make sure that once they put their mailing address in here, you stop. You'll see here that what they need to do is click the forward arrow until they get to the end, and then they're going to do the end test, follow the script here as it goes. Okay. We're not conducting it before test day. We are conducting this on test day. So now you're going to hand out scratch paper, and then you're going to continue with the scripts on page 50. Before we go to that, again, this is for everyone. Stay with this. We're going to go through some more of these pages and highlight some important things. First of all, if you're doing accommodations, there's important information here you need to make sure you familiarize yourself with. Text-to-speech, extra extended or breaks as needed, how to test in a one-to-one setting. And then there's a description of the different scripts. We don't have anybody using script 2, but we do have some standard time. That's going to be most of the students. We have some students doing 50% extended time and some students doing double time. All of our students doing text-to-speech are double time. All right, during the test then, you do need to post some information for them, as we always do. So today's date, PSAT 8-9, and then later on you're going to fill in those pieces, the session number, start, stop, and break times. You're going to admit students to the room. You will have, as always, 2 rosters. On the roster, you'll either mark a P for present or up here an A for absent on both rosters. One will be picked up for attendance. The other then will remain with the testing folder that you will receive. When students come in, we're hoping they don't bring anything with them other than their Chromebooks, but if they do have their cell phones with them, we're going to ask you to have them turn them off and use the phone caddy in the room if it has one. Otherwise, set them off on a counter to the side. If they do bring backpacks or anything with them, they also need to set those off to the side, and they cannot access any of that until testing is over. If they've brought a snack or a drink, they need to take it out of their backpack and put it under their chair. They can access that then during a break, but only during a break. If they leave it in their backpack, sorry, they cannot access the backpack during the exam. When the exam's over, you go to return them. You only do it after everything is done, everybody's done, you've collected all materials, and you're sure that everything has been returned. All right. When you're seating students, you probably remember this from before, you are going to seat them either prearranged by you or random. Never allow them to select their own seat. If you have any late arrivals, they are going to be sent to, if you haven't started the time sections, they can come in. Once you start the time sections, then you're going to send them to the dean's office, and we'll direct them from there. During the exam, you've got a few different tasks: administer each section in sequence, read the scripts, maintain security, report any irregularities, fill out the seating chart on the back of your manual, and then monitor the TA interface to make sure that they're progressing and that they're not hung up on anything. Okay. In the TA interface, you are going to have to select the test time and the breaks. So whether it's a standard time or if they have extended time and you're in an accommodated room, if there's any breaks or not. If you are unsure of what that is, please, again, see Sarah or me, and we will assist you with that. It's also should be listed on the different documents you will have in your manual or in your folder that you'll pick up. All right, once testing begins, you're going to maintain security, be vigilant, make sure there's always somebody in the room, watch students' calculators and phones, don't leave materials unattended. As you can see, I'm just skipping through, I'm highlighting this. You're going to need to make sure you review and take care of learning all of this material. I'm just kind of hitting some of the high points and some of the things where we've seen problems before. Monitor breaks. So during the breaks, you need to post the time that they'll resume testing. Make sure the devices are on the sign-in screen or an unanswered question if it's an unscheduled break. But during the scheduled break, it should be on the sign-in screen. Everybody should be at that point. That way you know they're not progressing ahead or anything like that. Breaks are going to be in the room. You can allow them to use the restroom 1 or 2 at a time. The hallway monitors will keep an eye on that. They can have a snack or a drink away from the test itself, away from their computers. But they need to also then, like I said, stay in the room, and they need to be quiet because there are still going to be tests in nearby rooms. If a student needs to take a break during the exam, so an unscheduled break, you need to make sure you let that student know they're not getting extra time. Don't pause the test. Otherwise, that pauses their time. So don't pause it. It's going to continue to roll. They should navigate to, as it says here, to the next unanswered question. That way they can just come back and resume that spot. Irregularity report. If you have any questions, any concerns on any type of an irregularity, please see me or Sarah, and we will assist you with that and try and come up with an answer and how to help you on how to proceed. There is an irregularity chart in this manual on page 117, lists some of the most common irregularities. That might help you kind of get through some of those. All right, if you're issuing the text-to-speech, there's a little more information here on how that's going to work. And then this is where our test day scripts are going to begin. Everybody's going to stay here. Again, the first part of this is generic, is general for everyone. In a little bit, then I'll direct you when to move on to another script. So at this point, you already did that pre-administration. This is where it told you to jump to down here, page 50. You're already going to be in the secure test browser. You're going to launch that TA interface on your own device. It should already be there. Remember, you're going to read the scripts exactly as they're written in that shaded area. As we progress through that, you're going to get over here. You're going to read part A because we did collect belongings, so you won't read B. You're going to get to this section here about checking calculators. Make sure you walk around. Make sure there's only acceptable calculators. Nobody has anything they shouldn't have. Something to watch for that we have seen here is the mobile phones, smart watches. Make sure they don't have any of those. Those should also be put to the side or over in the caddies or in the backpack if they did bring that. Also, something to watch for is earbuds. We've noticed students wanting to wear their AirPods and keep that on during the exam. Their phone's still playing music or something over on this side. So you need to kind of watch for that. Make sure they turn those off and put those away. You need to check for unacceptable calculators. Those would be any that have a QWERTY keyboard. So anything that's like a laptop as far as the alignment of the letters, as opposed to an alpha alignment of the letters. At this point, then, you're going to distribute a test ticket. Each student will have a test ticket. You need to make sure you give them theirs that has their name on it. And then you're going to give them all one sheet of scratch paper. You're going to have plenty of scratch paper, so if they need more later, they can get that. You're going to follow the proper procedures and then proceed to the appropriate script. Those are outlined here. All right, we're going to go now into script 1, which is standard time. So if you're going to be administering with either script 3 or script 4, you can pause the video and jump to the appropriate section for your script. And then make sure you jump back on at the end of the video where we have the section on after the test and dismissing the students. If you're following script 1 standard time, we're just going to keep going right here. So this is for students that have standard timing and breaks. You're going to, in that drop down, that's what you're going to indicate: standard time, test time, and breaks in that drop down. Again, this is what the student sign-in will look like. You're going to follow the scripts within the shaded areas, word for word. And here it tells you to pause and make sure you read this before everybody is approved. Then you will admit the students. This does a nice job of showing you these shaded areas, what you need to do on the TA interface. All right, we don't have any students using AT, assistive technology, in our rooms, so you'll skip that section there. And we'll proceed to the reading test. So like before, at this point, then you'll start the test. You will have already, at this point, admitted them. And then now you're going to start the test. That's the second time. Once they get going with the test, you're going to record the start and stop times in the book here, but also up on the whiteboard. And you need to record the session ID in your book as well. While the students are working, you're going to do a couple of tasks. In addition to posting the start and stop time, you're going to monitor their progress in the TA interface. You're going to walk around, make sure they're doing okay, and complete the seating chart on the back of this manual. So you'll progress in that same way through the next test, writing and language, the two approvals to get them going, starting the test, and then again recording the information in the book. Continue on that way for the math test. The first one is no calculator, same procedures that you're going to follow there. And then the fourth test is the math test with the calculator. So they can either use the calculator that's available to them on the screen through the test, or if they brought their own, they can use that as well. So again, you'll record that information here. And then we get to section 5, which is the variable section. Takes about 20 minutes. Well, takes exactly 20 minutes is the timing on that. So here's, again, same procedure for that, recorded in here. And then after you finish, you're going to proceed to page 102. So at this point, you can go ahead and pause the video and jump past the next scripts and go to page 102 and go to that section of the video for after the test and dismissing students. All right, script 3, time and a half or 50% extended time. If you are in a room that have students testing with this accommodation, this is the script that you will use. So as we said before, you've already done the pre-administration. So you're now moving from the pre-administration to this set of questions. The TA interface should be there. You're going to make sure you say time and 1/2, 50% when it asks you for test time and breaks. The students should already be logged in. They should be ready to go with the secure browser sign in. You're going to give the instructions. You're going to follow through reading these sections that are there. Remember, there's 2 spots where you will admit here, and then part 2 when you start the test. I crossed off these 2 sections here because you won't have anyone with text-to-speech in the 50% room. All of our text-to-speech students are receiving 100%. To allow for that accommodation. Section 1, because you got extended time, does have an extra break built in. So you're going to go 42 minutes, 5-minute break, and 41 minutes. So you'll see here, when you start the test, you're going to record the test start and stop time here. Now this is just for the first half. You're going to record the session ID here. And then you're going to walk around, you're going to post the times on the whiteboard, you're going to monitor the students in the TA interface, and complete the seating chart on the back of this manual that you're looking at. When that 42 minutes is up, then you will pause the session. That will give them, then you give that 5-minute break. So again, you're reading these scripts, give the 5-minute break, and then after that's over, then you will continue the test. So it does a nice job of describing all of that here for you. You'll then record start and stop times in here and on the board for the second half of that reading test. There's another 5-minute break after that. And then we get to the writing and language test. This only has 1 part, 45 minutes. And then you'll see the same thing. You're going to set it up. You'll admit the students. You'll start the test. You'll record the information and monitor their progress. After the writing and language, there's another 5-minute break. We'll go to the math test, no calculator, 30 minutes, following these same procedures here, recording the same information, monitoring what they're doing. After that test, there's another 5-minute break. And then we get to section 4, math test with the calculator. This one is also broken in half, so 2 30-minute sections with a 5-minute break. Same procedure as before, recording the times, pausing the section, 5-minute break between sections, recording the times for the second half, 5-minute break then, before we get to the section 5, which is the variable section. And these students will have 30 minutes for this. So again, same procedures, information's here. You're going to read what's in the shaded areas. We'll continue through that till you get to the end. Again, recording the information, the session ID there. And once you get to the end of that section, then you're going to proceed to page 102 in your manual, which will be ending the test and dismissing the students. At this point, then you can pause the video and jump to the next section of the video, or to the end section of the video, which is the dismissing students and you can skip the information on script 4 double time. Script 4 double time. Any students in your room are receiving, like you said, they're receiving double time for this 100% extended time. This would include all of our students who are using the text-to-speech feature. So in the TA interface, you'll see here then that you're going to select, I'm having trouble get that, select double time under the test time and breaks drop down. And then you'll click OK for that. This is where you're going to come to right after you do the pre-administration. You'll roll right into the script 4 with the double time. You'll be reading, as we did before, the highlighted or the shaded sections. Students should already be in the secure browser, so you'll have them follow along with you. Note that this is 2 days of testing, so you're going to give the pre-administration section 2 tests, reading and writing and language. That will be the end of day 1. Day 2 will consist of 2 math exams and a variable section. I'll show you where that break is when we get there. All right, so like we said before, you're going to admit the students. That's part 1. And part 2 is starting the test. There is instruction here for the text-to-speech, so you'll make sure you read that if that's what the students in your room are doing. The first test is the reading test. Because it's double time, we're going to break it in half, 2 55-minute sections with a 5-minute break between. So what you're going to do is you're going to record the start and stop time for the first section here. You're also going to record the session ID here. While the students are working, then you'll post the start and stop times, not just here in the book, but also up on the whiteboard so they can see that. You're going to monitor their progress in the TA interface, and you're going to complete the seating chart on the back of the manual. So they'll progress through that test. Once they get through that first section, the first 55 minutes, then you're going to pause in the TA interface. You will pause the session. They'll get a 5-minute break, as you can see here, and then you'll continue the test. This gives you exactly what to do in the TA interface here. You'll record the start-stop time information for the second section here, that 55-minute section here. They'll continue going through that. 5-minute break then, and then they'll start the writing and language test. That is just one part, 60 minutes. So again, you'll set up, admit the students, start the exam, and then you'll record the information here and monitor what they're doing. And then that's the end of day 1. All right, day 2 then will begin right here where it says day 2. On day 2, again, you'll do A, because we do collect belongings just like you did that on the first day. So you won't read this B. You'll continue reading the shaded areas, get them back into the system. There's a 5-minute break to start before they start the testing. And then the first test they're going to take is the math test. No calculator, 40 minutes with this one. Same thing, admit the students, start the test, record the information, including the session ID here. Make sure you walk around the room, make sure they're not using calculators, monitor the TA interface. 5-minute break after that exam, and then we roll into section 4, the math test with the calculator. You can see this one's broken again in half. There's 2 sections of 40 minutes apiece with a 5-minute break between. So again, set up the TA interface, admit students, start the exam, record the information here, including the session ID. This is going to be for the first 40-minute session. Pause between the sessions, 5-minute break, continue the test, record the information for the second 40-minute session there. 5-minute break before we get to the variable section, which is 40 minutes. That's the 100% double time there, and follow the same procedures through that, including recording the information. Once you get to that, you're going to then progress to page 102, which for you is just on the next page. But I'm going to stop here, and then we'll pause this for everybody else to join us for that last section.